Even Hershey's Kisses cereal, which I was like, how is this even selling to a British market? They don't even like Hershey's chocolate. Does this make you question, as an American, what you are actually eating? Absolutely, yes it does. Does it stop me from still wanting these cereals? Unfortunately, no it does not. Hey guys, welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaylin. I'm an American who's lived in the UK for almost 10 years, and today we are talking about where to find American cereal in the UK and why many American cereal brands are banned in the UK. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest, this video was sparked by a funny kind of accident of finding these cereals, which I will talk about later on. But I've got some of my favorite American cereals here, and I did not buy these in America. These were not sent to me from an American. Some of them were sent from America to a store, but we'll get into that in a minute. So I've got some Lucky Charms, Magically Delicious, Leprechaun Trap on back, frosted toasted oat cereal with marshmallows. Classic. We've also got some Reese's Puffs cereal, because why eat cereal if it's not made with real Reese's peanut butter? And the third one that I found are these Froot Loops. Now, technically, the Froot Loops that I know have a toucan on the front. These are unicorn Froot Loops, so I'm not sure if the toucan has been fired or not. But I will also get into this one in a second because this is a little bit different than the other two. Also, you'll notice that I have opened all of these now, and I meant to do this video when they were like fully unopened, but clearly I did not last that long. Okay, first things first, I want to talk about the different attitudes towards breakfast in the UK and the US, because I think British people right now watching might be like looking at this, clearly what is candy, being made into a breakfast cereal and be a little bit disturbed. So in the UK, I have definitely noticed that, first of all, when it comes to cereal, the options are definitely not as numerous. I don't think that consumers demand as many options as in the States, because cereal is kind of seen as like a sugary breakfast. It's not necessarily like the most filling thing. Here, they do have Frosties, Cocoa Pops, like shredded wheat, just things that are not like actually dessert in a box. And when it comes to breakfast in general, I would say that here people tend to have a more savory breakfast. We obviously do like savory breakfast foods in the US, but people here don't really eat Pop-Tarts for breakfast. Like, that's not really a thing. Americans look at things like donuts and cinnamon rolls as a breakfast food. Here, they kind of roll their eyes at that and look at us from afar, a little bit confused as to what we think we're eating to start out our day. So in general, the attitudes towards breakfast and towards what constitutes a breakfast food is different in each country. Now, the reason that I am so excited about finding some of these breakfast cereals in the UK, and quite frankly surprised, is because there has been a history of certain ingredients being banned in the UK that you can find in American breakfast cereals. Now, one of these ingredients that is banned is called BHT. It's used as a flavor enhancer and as a preservative, and in the past, you could find it in a lot of American cereals. You can still find it in some American cereals. This is banned in the UK because it potentially has carcinogens, and I couldn't find any conclusive research, but the UK is like, nah, we're not going to take that risk. So you could not have that in the country because the ingredient is banned. It's the same thing with something like Kraft macaroni and cheese. The Kraft macaroni and cheese from my childhood would have been banned in the UK for certain reasons, because it had certain things that were just not allowed in food products in the UK. Now, the other thing that typically gets banned from cereals coming from the US into the UK has to do with the food dye. So I think in particular like Froot Loops and particularly Lucky Charms, which have marshmallows that are definitely somehow chemically dyed. The actual different food dyes would have been banned in the UK, and part of this was due to research showing how these dyes affected children's behaviors and just weren't good for you. Obviously, putting something that's not natural into your body Overall, not a good thing, but the UK has taken it one step further to outright ban certain things that are just not allowed in food products for human safety. Does this make you question, as an American, what you are actually eating? Absolutely, yes it does. Does it stop me from still wanting these cereals? Unfortunately, no it does not. Okay, so like I said, these cereals are often banned in the UK. You can't really find them on the regular supermarket shelf. And so what is an American to do? Well, I've got some tips for people who are either American living in the UK wanting to find cereals that you're used to from home, or for people who want to test out for yourself and see what the hype is all about. You know, my husband was raised on a more stereotypical British breakfast diet, certainly not eating sugary cereals, and definitely wouldn't eat them every day, but has found a couple that he does enjoy. So as a special treat, it might be something to look into if you want to see what we're eating across the pond. But anyway, I've come up with some locations where you can find them. And the first one is actually how this video all came about. So there's a store called B&M, and it's typically a northern store in England, now coming down to the south. We decided to go in. We were killing some time before we were going to do something, and it kind of looked like a Big Lots. If you're from America and you know what Big Lots is, it definitely didn't, look like anything to write home about. It was just a store with like some cheap items, nothing earth-shattering. I didn't expect that my whole world would open up and the sun would be shining and birds singing around me as I walked into the cereal aisle. Because what caught my eye were things like Reese's Puffs, which you cannot find in a regular UK supermarket. Same thing with the Lucky Charms. I was like, oh my God, I did not know that they sold Lucky Charms in the UK. Now, here's the thing though. They do sell these at B&M. They are expensive. They're like £4 a box because they are actually imports. So other things that I found were like Cookie Crisps, even Hershey's Kisses cereal, which I was like, how is this even selling to a British market? They don't even like Hershey's chocolate. But this was like a whole random aisle of American cereals. So again, the Lucky Charms and the Reese's were about £4 a box, but you can tell that it's an import because on the side, I don't know if you can see it. I think you can. So you have the regular nutritional label, but you can see that they've actually labeled over it. So they have to do that for the UK market because it has to match the nutritional info that is required here. So they have literally just taken a sticker and completely put it over the American thing because we're in the UK, don't care about what the Americans say is in the food. Obviously, I'm looking on here and cornstarch, modified cornstarch, corn syrup. This is clearly not good for you. And they've basically just repeated that on the nutritional info here, but they have presented the information in grams. So the initial servings says serving size 1 cup. And then it says 36 grams in parentheses. The British nutritional label doesn't even bother with cups. It just goes straight to grams. So these are actual, these are imported by a company called Taste of America, produced in USA. And so this is legitimately American cereal. And I say legitimately because there are some instances nowadays. So this one as well, you can see like the label's even gone over to the side. They have to put it on there. Okay, so that brings me to why do I think these Froot Loops are special? Well, I thought they were an import. I saw the Froot Loops and I was like, clearly they don't have Froot Loops in the UK. This must be an import from America, but there's no sticker over the side. This is just the box as it comes. Doing a little more research, they have Arabic on the side. So they're also probably made somewhere else, but they didn't have the same import price. So I think these were like £2. So these did come from somewhere else in the world, but they did not come from the US. So obviously it's not just a US cereal at this point. People from other countries must enjoy it to then be able to produce it outside the US. But I was thrilled to find Froot Loops no matter where they were produced. And obviously you've got a nice little coloring thing on the back. So B&M is, if you can find B&M, that is definitely one place where you might be able to find American cereals. The next place is actually looking in the world food sections of regular supermarkets. So often Tesco and Sainsbury's have some sort of world food section. They might have a couple cereal options, but by no means do they have the amount of cereal options that B&M had, but you could usually find one or two, so that is somewhere else to look. Another place to look would be actual physical American food stores. These are scattered across the UK, but basically they charge extortionate prices to Americans who are desperate for some of their American food, because these are mostly all going to be imports from the US. There's quite a few in London, and I will leave a link somewhere with my article on the best American food stores in London. But again, depending on where you are in the UK, just look up American food shop near me and you might find somewhere that basically just imports American food and you can go and buy it. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention was you can actually order a lot of American food online in the UK. And these could be from places like Amazon, or it could actually be an American food delivery service that is also importing food, but you don't have to go to a physical shop. And sometimes if you buy enough of it, they'll waive the shipping fees. There are places that do like deals on food that's going out of date that you can purchase. So Americans in the UK actually have a lot more options when it comes to finding our favorite American food than I think we used to. This is really helpful when it comes to things like Thanksgiving and we're looking for specific like brands that we know. But when it comes to cereal, definitely you can get American cereals in those kinds of places. Again, if you don't want to shop online or have an American food store, check if you have a B&M, because it is like the American cereal mecca, and I'm definitely spending a lot of my time there. Now, for those of you Brits who are like, I cannot believe I've just watched a video about American cereal and this girl talking very quickly and excitedly about a bunch of chemical-laden oats, I thought you might be interested in seeing what some of them look like. So I'm gonna round out the video by pouring myself some bowls of cereal and you can see what the big deal is about our favorite American brands. Okay, first up, we're gonna do some Reese's Puffs. So these are sweet and crunchy corn puffs, and they're basically chocolate and peanut butter flavor. I mean, how does that sound bad to anybody? So they come out as these little balls of joy. See if you can focus on those. So you've got the chocolate and the peanut butter ones, and they basically taste like corn pops with chocolate and peanut butter. This is definitely a popular cereal. I didn't really have it that much growing up, but while I'm, in the UK waiting for my turn to be able to go to America, I will basically take anything American at this point. Okay, next up are our Froot Loops, which these look a little more flat than I'm used to, but they are loops. And because these are some kind of like unicorn ones, they are in, oh my God, it smells like Froot Loops. Oh, taste of home. Yellow, pink, and purple. Again, these are currently allowed in the UK, so I'm guessing they don't have any like terrible dyes, but is this natural? No. Do I care right now? Also no. And so these are really good when you add milk and they become all like kind of squishy, and it just smells probably like sugar, and Froot Loops were a huge staple in my childhood. And last up, the Lucky Charms tutorial. I cannot even believe what I'm putting on YouTube right now, but if you're still watching, hope you're enjoying. Okay, so Lucky Charms, classic. So what we've got here, these we have the little oat grainy things, which nobody actually likes. They just eat to get through to the marshmallows. I think at one point you could actually buy entire bags of Lucky Charms marshmallows on their own, because America, God bless the USA. But every child and myself is in it for the marshmallows. So let me see if I can you see that? Kind of. Okay, so these are Lucky Charms marshmallows, and they are very compact. So if you were to eat it right now, it's not like fluffy like a marshmallow. But when you pour milk in, they get just really fluffy, really delicious. Again, as a kid, I would eat all of the oat stuff first, because who wants that? and then save the marshmallows for last. And then your milk gets all marshmallowy and colorful, and it's just a classic part of growing up in the US. Okay, so thank you for watching this random video about American cereal in the UK, which, yes, as you may have figured out, was just an excuse for me to purchase American cereal at B&M and have an excuse to eat it. I am definitely in heaven right now with some of my favorite brands. Honestly, if we're gonna get serious about cereal for a second, it's just a really nice way to, you know, cure some temporary homesickness, you know, make me feel like I'm at home and have some things from my childhood. It just, no matter where in the world you live, if you lived in America, you'd want some of your British like brands and classics that you really miss or used to eat as a kid, and it just feels comforting and nice. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and see what damage I can do and see what other brands I can find at B&M. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.